Hello and welcome to our daily sketching routine. It is Thursday, November 21st, 2024, and today's topic will be sketching intuitively. And I initially wanted to call it sketching with a fountain pen, which I may do. I'll talk about that. But before we begin, welcome back if you're returning, welcome if you're new. I sketch and post every day, and I use 5-minute timers in order to stay focused and build a daily sketching habit. So I started a 5-minute timer now, and if you're at a point where you're just wanting to build a habit and get into sketching, which I've been there, you can just use this as like a 5-minute timer and don't really worry about the topic. But yeah, as far as the topic, I was going to call it sketching with a fountain pen, but it's just in camera here. So yeah, I'm going to do my best to just not move the camera, but like move the sketchbook around. This is what it looks like. So part of this, I'm going to call it sketching intuitively because that's what I did. Although I did use a fountain pen. But as you can see, there were some splatters here. So this will be shop talk to begin with. And in some previous videos, I've talked about organizing my never-ending quest to organize my stuff. And one of the things is my art supplies, and so I found this old fountain pen, and it's a Senza, I believe is the brand, and I bought it a while back, like several years ago. Yeah, it's Senza. So this is not going to be really a review. It's more about sketching intuitively. But I mean, it's nice, so I don't want to throw it away. And then I also have some old ink that I found, Winsor & Newton, which kind of inspired me to sketch a dragon, actually. But this is a Eastern dragon, and that's like a Western dragon. So I wasn't sure if this ink would be any good. I mean, it's okay, but it may have affected like the flow in the fountain pen. But I wanted to keep some for one of the other supplies that I found was this Sumi E, I think that's how you pronounce that, like the ink wash. So I want to keep some of this for playing around with that, which I'll do a video of that if I can figure out how to do it. I haven't. There's like a book that comes with it, like a beginner's guide. But back to this pen, I had to figure out how to use one of these. I guess these are called converters, and you just kind of turn this like a plunger. But it was a little messy. But I found that I could kind of have to like get it started, like the ink flow. And then sort of have a scrap piece of paper. So yeah, maybe. And then also, since I'm left-handed, I think it kind of affects like the way you use it. I'm no expert at fountain pens, but let's see. So for this sketch page, I'm just gonna this flow there. I'm just gonna create kind of a, just going back to the topic of sketching intuitively. That's what I'm gonna do. It's just kind of sketch intuitively. So one thing with the, and also talk about this fountain pen, but one thing I found is that it tends to work better when I'm moving away. Can you see this from me like this? So I can see myself using it in a very specific way. Now, as far as the fountain pen itself, it's got this nice grip. I like that. I mean, it looks nice. I mean, not just the pen, but like, I think the ink line looks interesting. And as I use it, I find that I can get, like, I can kind of get an intuition of when I have to sort of shake it a little bit, but I was doing it on the paper, which is why you get these dots, but that looks kind of cool actually. So that's 5 minutes. I'll start another one. So I'm just going to create kind of a border for myself because this was a blank piece of paper, and maybe I can put something in between here. I'm not sure. But yeah, that's part of what sketching intuitively is, which is what I'm doing here. So part of it is mark making. So that's what this is. And it also happens to serve as a test, as a way to practice a new. So I do like that I can get different line widths. That's pretty fun. I mean, I have used fountain pens, which is why I had this, but then I kind of just stopped. And then I've used dip pens. I used to have some, but I do like it. And like I said, I'll use some brush once I go through that book, the ink wash book, which I don't really, I've done it a little bit, but not, that was a long time ago. So yeah, I'm sketching intuitively. I like it. I think that you have to keep it, you have to maintain it, which isn't a bad thing, especially if, I mean, I'm wanting to move into painting anyway, so you have to be kind of methodical about that. So that's the fountain pen. I like it actually. I liked it better than yesterday. I was getting a little frustrated because one, I wasn't sure like if it would even work. And like how to use it and stuff. But yeah, I find that it's better if I like go that way. But if I'm coming towards myself, it doesn't work as good. So here's the rest of the page. The other pen I want to talk about is, because I found this too. So in another video, I talked about how I don't really like gel pens, and I'm still kind of feeling that way, but I like the way this pen looked, so I bought it like a long time ago, and it's a G2, a Pilot G2 limited gel pen. But what I liked about it was not only the way it feels and the way it looks, but the like it's got refills, which I don't have any, but I like that it had refills. So I'll use it more, and if I like it, maybe I'll get refills. But I have to admit that compared to other gel pens, I do kind of like it more. But I talked about how I didn't like how it kind of skipped. But I'm going to shade a little bit here. Again, just intuitive mark making, intuitive sketching. But because I was using the fountain pen, it made me more deliberate about using this pen, this gel pen, and I just like the way it feels, and I mean it looks nice. So, and it's cool that there's refills. And I know sometimes you can get refills that are different, like it doesn't have to be like the same gel pen. I don't know if this will take that. I've seen some videos about that, but I'm obsessed with pens, but I like it actually. I gotta admit. So yeah, between the fountain pen and this gel pen, it's kind of a nice combo. Kind of has a nice look. It's sort of because with the fountain pen you get more interesting line variation, more organic, and then this one is a little bit more. You can get more like even shading going on. Now I don't draw that many dragons, and I haven't drawn a dragon in a while. I did have a commission where I had to paint a dragon, and a lot of people liked that, relatively speaking, for my audience. It was actually for the Fireborn RPG. That's 5 minutes. So yeah, that's this pen, a G2 Pilot G2. But for the rest of this video, I'm gonna use. I talked about. I mean, I get asked because I use it in a lot of videos. Just the Papermate Flare medium point felt tip pen. But I talked about how I like when they start to run out, I hang on to them because sometimes you can still get them to work. I'm just going to work on this part. Might work a little bit on this left side too, just to get something. So yeah, I'm going to intuitively sketch, like I said. I'm just going to add stuff that, not from reference, just from imagination, and it's based upon just mark making and also brainstorming. But yeah, I just hang on to these because sometimes they can work for a little while, and sometimes it's good to that they're faded a little bit. But I just like using them, and then if they start to run out, you can get like a gray tone with it. So yeah, just for the rest of this video, I'm just gonna sketch intuitively. That goes into the idea of, we can kind of sketch the triad here, if you can see it. So before, we were talking about, so yesterday we talked about the study aspect of it, and then it doesn't have to be in this order, but it kind of is, like intuitively, so to speak. So here is imagination. So just go ahead and write that. But it's also intuition, the 3 I's. So it's intuition and then inspiration. So these are things that aren't really tangible, but we experience it and we feel it. They're experiential. And yeah, I talked about study, which is what this one is. And this is about skills, building up your skills. And those are things that you can control, like the study. But then inspiration, it's just sort of in the moment. Like you're either feeling it or not. So my approach is just to like build the habit, which is why I set timers and stuff. But as I do this, I can kind of talk about, well, since we're talking about imagination, intuition, and inspiration, like I like Mobius. I think he's a big, like his work is a big influence. Also, like, I forget his name. He's like the Japanese Mobius, which is, well, Miyazaki's kind of like that, but there's another, like, I think Amano or something like that. He did like the Vampire Hunter D stuff and Final Fantasy. I think I need some coffee. My brain is moving faster than my mouth. So I really like them, their work. I also like Muka. Like, I mean, he's pretty well known now, but like back in the day, he wasn't as well known. Like I went through a phase where, so my comic, so that's 5 minutes. I'll start another one. So my comic influences, I talked about in some other videos where comics are like one of my like main influences, and I collected X-Men, and so at that time it was Mark Silvestri, so I think that probably has a lot of you can probably see a lot of that. But so yeah, he was drawing X-Men like in the 90s. And then I really liked Hellboy, so Mignola's influence. So I mean, you can almost, I mean, that kind of goes into the style though. So I'll put style right here. That's steady. So that's the triad or triforce. I mean, games are, well, the old school games were kind of a big influence. So yeah, Mark Silvestri, Mignola, Mike Mignola, Mobius, Amano. And then, yeah, it wasn't until a little while later that I got into like Muka and then like Leyendecker and like the kind of the old school illustrators, because back then we didn't have the internet, so you kind of had to just meet people that knew about it. I would say, as far as comics, another influence would be like Bill Sienkiewicz. I think that's how you pronounce his name. As far as like kind of doing your own thing and not just like drawing like mainstream, basically. Like intuitively, I think that's a good that's very fitting. Yeah, like he seemed to draw more intuitively, but like he was really good at drawing. But yeah, as we wrap up another 5 minutes, I'll just kind of draw until this 5 minutes runs out. I mean, part of it for me is kind of figuring out how to do these videos. I mean, making these videos is pretty intuitive. I don't have like if I try to have too much of a plan, which is not really intuition, it kind of, it's not as fun. Like no, I'll write down ideas. So yeah, if you have ideas or questions, like I do keep a list, but it doesn't mean that, like, if it's not flowing, it's not flowing. Like I don't force anything here, because I feel like it doesn't make for like a good video. So this pen, you can see it's wanting to run out, but I'll use it until it's like completely out. I wouldn't use it for line art. I would use it for sketching and shading, maybe. But yeah, as we wrap up for today, I want to thank you for joining me for our daily sketching routine. I really appreciate any support for the channel. It's encouraging, helps me to keep going, and until next time, keep on sketching.